Om. Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the divine being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the divine being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace. Peace and beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming to our Saturday class on the book How to Know God, which is a translation and commentary, translation of and commentary on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras by Swami Prabhavananda, my guru, and he published it under this title, How to Know God, in order to let us know that it is a workbook. It is a how-to book. And we're in chapter 2, sloka 17, which is going to tell us something about the nature of our mind, and we'll just go forward. As I told Jeff earlier, and by the way, our reader, very capable reader, is Jeff Salvage. I won't try to follow along today in the reading. I'll just interrupt him as I feel it is auspicious to add something or ask for comments, concerns, or questions from you. And please feel free. This is a class, not a lecture. Neither a lecture by Swami Prabhavananda nor by me. And so anything that you want to express in the way of your own opinion, your own comment from your own wisdom or experience, or any concern you have about what's been said, or any question you want to ask for clarification, that's what's meant by a class. That's what's meant by studying the art of spirituality together. So please be free, and don't know that everyone else will benefit from your being your authentic self, whatever it is that you wish to contribute. So with that, Jeff, please start with Shloka 17.
Quite gladly I will. This pain is caused by false identification of the experiencer with the object of experience. It may be avoided. Repeating Shloka 17 one more time. This pain is caused by false identification of the experiencer with the object of experience. It may be avoided.
This pain that is spoken of by Patanjali is the pain of experience itself that is the motivation for our trying to escape from the pain. And so if when we identify ourselves with the objects of experience, that which comes in through the senses or is generated by the mind based on its past experiences, which are called samskaras, then we have this difficulty of, because there is no real satisfaction, there is no real joy in the objects of experience. They are transitory, and in that sense, they are illusory. It doesn't mean they're not real in an absolute sense. It simply means their reality is relative, and essentially meaningless. So we try to find happiness and joy and freedom in the objects of experience, which we all know what that means. And when we do, we cause ourselves pain. So if you would read that again, please, Jeff, and then read on into the commentary.
Certainly. Shloka 17. This pain is caused by false identification of the experiencer with the object of experience. It may be avoided. The experiencer is the Atman, our real nature. The object of experience is the totality of the apparent world, including the mind and the senses. In reality, the Atman alone exists, one without a second, eternally free. But by the false...
Can't talk now, I'm in class.
But by the false identification through Maya, which is the mystery of our present predicament, the Atman is mistaken for the individual ego, subject to all the thought waves which arise and trouble the mind. That is why we imagine that we are unhappy or happy, angry or lustful. The Gita reminds us that this is not really the case. And this is a quote from the Gita. The illumined soul thinks always, I am doing nothing, no matter what he sees, hears, touches, smells, eats. This he knows always. I am not seeing, I am not hearing. It is the senses that see and hear and touch the things of the senses.
So to experience this for yourself, you develop the ability to be in that witness position of the Atman. The face of the Atman, as far as we're concerned, is something called the witness, capital W. When you learn through contemplation, concentration, and meditation, when you find this witness awareness, we're all aware of it. We all know there's something in me that is aware of what's going on all the time, and sometimes has a narrative about it and so on. This is our primitive understanding of the witness awareness. As we sophisticate our ability to sink below the thought waves of the mind through contemplation, concentration, and meditation, then we become more and more aware of this witness awareness. And so then you see that everything that comes before the witness awareness has only a transitory reality. It arises and passes away, arises and passes away. Everything without exception. And this is why the statement is made in the Gita. The illumined soul says, I, the I being the Atman, I am doing nothing. I am simply witnessing this arising and passing away of the things of the senses and of the thought waves of the mind. So would you read that quote from the Gita again, Jeff, please?
Certainly. The illumined soul thinks always, I am doing nothing. No matter what he sees, hears, touches, smells, eats. This he knows always. I am not seeing, I am not hearing. It is the senses that see and hear and touch the things of the senses.
Okay, let's pause for a moment. Are there any comments from your own wisdom or experience about this tendency to see or be in this way, or any concern or question that this raises for you? Anything at all? This is what's meant by studying together. Let us hear from you if you feel so inclined. All right, please go ahead, Jeff.
So long as the experiencer is falsely identified with the object of experience, we cannot know the Atman, our real nature. We remain in bondage, believing ourselves to be the slaves of experience. There is a story, writes Swami Vivekananda, that the king of the gods, Indra, once became a pig. Wallowing in mire, he had a she-pig and a lot of baby pigs and was very happy. Then some gods saw his plight and came to him and told him, "You are the king of the gods. You have all the gods under your command. Why are you here?" But Indra said, "Never mind. I am all right here. I do not care for heaven, while I have this sow and these little pigs." The poor gods were at their wits' end. After a time, they decided to slay all the pigs, one after another. When all were dead, Indra began to weep and mourn. Then the gods ripped his pig body open, and he came out of it, and began to laugh when he realized what a hideous dream he had had. He, the king of the gods, to have become a pig, and to think that pig life was the only life. Not only so, but to have wanted the whole universe to come into the pig life. The Atman, when it identifies itself with nature, forgets that it is pure and infinite. The Atman does not love, it is love itself. It does not exist, it is existence itself. The Atman does not know, it is knowledge itself. It is a mistake to say that the Atman loves, exists, or knows. Love, existence, and knowledge are not the qualities of the Atman, but its essence. When they get reflected upon something, you may call them the qualities of that something. They are not the qualities, but the essence of the Atman, the infinite being, without birth or death, established in its own glory. It appears to have become so degenerate that if you approach to tell it you are not a pig, it begins to squeal and bite. This pig, which is not a pig, can on occasion become a very dangerous animal. The power of tamas in our nature is so great that we hate to be disturbed. We loathe any new idea, especially if it implies that we shall have to make some change in our lives. And so when the spiritual teachers come to tell us that we are not pigs but God, we are quite apt to persecute and crucify them. So that's the end of that commentary. Shall I pause before the next sloka?
No, let's just pause a moment. I mean, so much was said that is so pregnant with meaning for us. Is there anything that anyone would like to say or any response that you would like to make?
Yes, the Swami says the power of tamas in our nature is so great. And this story shows that even a god falls under that power. So what hope do we have?
Well, the hope that we have is in our spiritual practice. This is what we'll be getting at by what at the end of that sloka 17, it says, this pain can be avoided. So Patanjali will slowly and slowly teach us in his workbook how to identify ourselves with something other than that pig nature. But the power of tamas, yes, the entire universe is created and sustained and transformed by the three gunas. The three gunas are the instruments of the trinity of Vishnu, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the creator, the sustainer, protector God, Vishnu, and the transforming or destroying and recreating God, Shiva. Brahma, quite deliberately, we're told, endowed human beings with profuse quantities of materialism, tamas, and vanity, rajas, so that we would be deceived. But it isn't like this is an imposition on us. We are that which wished to be deceived. We are the universe that instructed. We are the universal being. The Atman is the universal being that instructed Brahma to do this. This is what the scriptures tell us. So it isn't as if tamas is an imposition on us. It's needed for the play to go on. When we're tired of the play going on, then we find our way to some spiritual tradition that teaches us how to go beyond. And this is this workbook that we have in your hands, Jeff, and that Brahmadas has in his hands. That workbook will share with us how to do this. Anything else from anyone?
This pig, which not a pig, can on occasion become a very dangerous animal. Just that phrase, pig without pig, we are pigs which are not pigs. And it reminded me of this quote that has all my life just floored me. And it's by one of those old Greek philosophers. I can't remember which one, but it was, a goat is just a goat, but a human being is a goat trying to be a goat. I love it because, and I heard it for the first time when I was about 15 or 16, and I didn't really know what it meant, but I knew that I needed to think about it for the rest of my life, but it just hit me that, that means, goat is just a goat. A goat is what it is.
Right.
A human being is a thing trying to be a thing.
Exactly.
And what we're trying to be is either a goat or a pig or whatever. We aren't just humans being humans. And if we were just humans being humans, we would know that we were gods, according to, relating it to the text.
Well, thank you very
That may
much.
be way out there, but that's what.
No, that's exactly what we just finished studying the book Divine Grace. And that is the thesis of that book, so that to be fully human is to be fully divine, not to be a pig or a goat, but to be fully the human that we are. And that fully human is the Atman in its essence. But that's disguised from us by all of this imagining that we are seeing, hearing, thinking, and so on. Thank you, Cindy. That was very appropriate. Anything else from anyone?
Brother, this is Jeff.
Yes, Jeff.
I just wanted to make the quick comment that this pig story is really a powerful symbol for how we all buy into Maya and
yes,
and identify with our little
with our lower nature. Yes. We identify with our lower nature. We identify with the things of the senses, and we cause ourselves such grief and pain by doing so. And all of us do it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. If we were illumined, we would say what the illumined souls, each of them say. They all say it in one way or another. They try to tell us. Those illumined souls that remain as teachers try and tell us in their own words at their own time what it is. And as the Swami pointed out, oftentimes this gets them murdered, assassinated, as happened with Christ. And there have been others. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, all of you. Anything else before we go on? All right, as long as you're absolutely clear about the meaning of what has been said, and there aren't any doubts or concerns or any questions that need to be answered, then we can go on as a class studying. But if there's anything, don't be at all shy to bring it up and ask your question, express your concern, or tell us something from your own wisdom or experience that either confirms or denies what you've heard. Okay, Jeff, please read on.
Okay. Shloka 18. The object of experience is composed of the three gunas, the principles of illumination, or sattva, activity, or rajas, and inertia, or tamas. From these, the whole universe has evolved, together with the instruments of knowledge, such as the mind, senses, etc., and the objects perceived, such as the physical elements. The universe exists in order that the experiencer may experience it and thus become liberated. Quite a long shloka. I'll read it again. The object of experience is composed of the three gunas, the principles of illumination, or sattva, activity, or rajas, and inertia, or tamas. From these, the whole universe has evolved, together with the instruments of knowledge, such as the mind, senses, etc., and the objects perceived, such as the physical elements. The universe exists in order that the experiencer may experience it and thus become liberated. And here's the commentary. The last sentence of this aphorism is one of the most important in the entire book. It is Patanjali's answer to the pig people, to those who want to stay wallowing in their mire. When told that all sense experience is, in the last analysis, painful, the pig people become scornful and angry. They find such a philosophy cowardly and lacking in spirit. One should not be afraid of pleasure, they exclaim. One should seize the flying moment and enjoy it, whatever the consequences. They quote approvingly from their poets, for many of the finest poets write pig poetry, saying that one crowded hour of glorious life is worth an age without a name, and Patanjali is a timid old killjoy grandmother. To this accusation, Patanjali replies, "It is you who are really afraid. It is you who shrink from experience. You talk so much about your pleasures, yet you know nothing about pleasure. You never try to understand its nature. The universe of sense experience is a great book, and he who reads it through to the end with discrimination will know at length that there is nothing but the Atman. No experience is in vain. No page of that book is superfluous, provided that the reader learns something from it and passes on to the next. But you never learn. You never pass on. You read the same page over and over, repeating the same meaningless experience, like a man who is half asleep, reading without remembering a word." There is an Indian saying, "The bee came to suck on the honey, but his feet got stuck in it." We can only avoid the fate of the bee if we regard our lives as a perpetual search for meaning, an exercise in discrimination between the real and the unreal. In that spirit, we shall welcome all kinds of experience, both pleasant and painful, and it will never harm us. For the truth lies hidden everywhere, within every experience and every object of the universe. Everything that happens to us, no matter how seemingly trivial, throughout the day, offers some tiny clue which could lead us toward wider spiritual knowledge and eventual liberation. That concludes the commentary, Brother Shankara.
Yep. Well, read that last sentence again, please.
Everything that happens to us, no matter how seemingly trivial, throughout the day, offers some tiny clue which could lead us toward wider spiritual knowledge and eventual liberation.
Yes, and that is why we learn to practice spiritual disciplines, contemplation, concentration, and meditation, so that our awareness grows, Our awareness of the present moment grows. We no longer just pass along from one moment to the next as if nothing had happened. As Winston Churchill said, so many people stumble over the truth and then get up and walk on as if nothing had happened. So we must learn to slow down, observe our thoughts, observe our experiences, and see what clues, as the Swami says, what clues they provide to point us toward there's something more, there's something more. And it happens slowly and slowly. And as was pointed out earlier in the commentary, the mind, the left mind particularly, which has become altogether too dominant in this age of history, it objects strongly to any change. It insists, no, I know how to handle this. You just leave it to me, everything will be fine. But everything is not fine. We know it's not fine. We feel it isn't fine. That's why we're here this afternoon. We know it's not fine. But the mind insists because it doesn't want to change. So we have to just slowly and slowly, as John Dobson, the great philosopher, astrophysicist, and Vedanta said, we have to learn how to counter-cheat the stuff that produces these thoughts and feelings in our mind. We have to learn to counter-cheat our genes that want us to persist in this pig life. This is when Indra said, "Go away, I'm perfectly happy as I am." He wasn't posing, he wasn't going through some exercise. He was genuinely feeling as if he was happy. But we know, something in us knows, I'm not really happy living the pig life. So anything else from anyone? Any comment, any question, any concern? Well, it's true that the Swami explains things very well. So if everyone is satisfied that they're clear about what's been said, then we're good to move on.
Shloka 19. The gunas pass through 4 states: gross, subtle, primal, and unevolved. Now repeat Shloka 19. The gunas pass through 4 states: gross, subtle, primal, and unevolved. Here Patanjali summarizes what has already been explained in the commentary on Aphorism 17 of the first chapter. When the universe exists only in its potential form, the gunas are in perfect equilibrium, and their state is described as unevolved or signless. That's S-I-G-N, signless. When the universe begins to evolve and the guna balance is disturbed, we find the dawning of Mahat, the cosmic ego sense. This state is described as primal or indicated. In the next stage of evolution, when the gunas have entered into the combinations which form the mind and the inner essences of things, their state is described as subtle or undefined. And finally, when the universe has reached its external physical manifestation, the state of the gunas is described as gross or defined. Because of the difficulty of rendering these technical terms into English, an alternative translation has been given in each case. That concludes that commentary, and then we have 6 in a row.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to just go back and repeat both the shloka and the commentary.
Okay.
Because we're getting deeper into this instruction about how to think about these things that will allow us to free ourselves.
Shloka 19. The gunas pass through 4 states: gross, subtle, primal, and unevolved. Here Patanjali summarizes what has already been explained in the commentary on Aphorism 17 of the first chapter. When the universe exists only in its potential form, the gunas are in perfect equilibrium and their state is described as unevolved or signless.
This is the state before what physicists call the Big Bang. This is the potential universe. Everything is there, but it's all just in potential form, waiting for the gunas to take those potentials and create the universe we know of name and form. So this is what's meant by there. Everything is unevolved because there is no evolution, because there's no motion. When the Big Bang, or in Vedanta it's called, when Hiranyagarbha bursts, that's the way it's said in the Vedic scriptures, then everything begins to evolve. It is all involved in the potential. The potential begins to manifest itself little by little by little by little. And so this is what's meant by what's been said. When things move a little further along, Jeff will read what it comes next. After the unevolved state, what is it, Jeff?
When the universe begins to evolve, the guna balance is disturbed. When the universe begins to evolve and the guna balance is disturbed, we find the dawning of Mahat, the cosmic ego sense.
There's only one cosmic ego sense. There's only one knower. It is the Atman. We are a reflection. We are made in the image. We are made in the image in the Judaic scriptures, the Judeo-Christian scriptures. We are made in the image and likeness of God. An image and likeness is something you find in a mirror. This stardust spacesuit we wear is a mirror that is reflecting this ahamkara. And because it's a reflection and we experience the reflection, we think we are a separate being. We are not a separate being. That we are that one being experiencing universe evolving. So would you read that again, please, Jeff, what you just read?
When the universe begins to evolve and the guna balance is disturbed, we find the dawning of Mahat, the cosmic ego sense. This state is described as primal or indicated. Shall I go on to the next?
Please.
In the next stage of evolution, when the gunas have entered into the combinations which form the mind and the inner essences of things, their state is described as subtle or undefined. And finally, when the universe has reached its external physical manifestation, the state of the gunas is described as gross or defined.
Any comments or questions or any concerns that any of this raises for you? Is it all clear? And we can move on, or is there something that remains unclear? Okay, Jeff, please move on.
Okay, now we have 6 shlokas in a row, so I'll read through them all and then I'll read through them all again. Number 20. The Atman, the experiencer, is pure consciousness. It appears to take on the changing colors of the mind. In reality, it is unchangeable. Number 21, the object of experience exists only to serve the purpose of the Atman. 22, though the object of experience becomes unreal to him who has, though the object of experience becomes unreal to him who has reached the state of liberation, It remains real to all other beings. Number 23, the Atman, the experiencer, is identified with Prakriti, the object of experience, in order that the true nature of both Prakriti and Atman may be known. 24, this identification is caused by ignorance. And 25, when ignorance has been destroyed, this identification ceases. Then bondage is at an end and the experiencer is independent and free. So repeating, number 20, the Atman, the experiencer, is pure consciousness. It appears to take on the changing colors of the mind. In reality, it is unchangeable. 21, the object of experience exists only to serve the purpose of the Atman.
Period. Let's wait there. As I said earlier, the Atman, the divine being itself, which in this case is being called the Atman, the divine being itself created the universe for its own purposes. And so the object of experience was created by the Atman out of its intention so that it could be experienced. There's nothing mysterious about this. It's very mysterious how it happens, but there's nothing mysterious about what actually did happen. The divine being, here called the Atman, desired for this to be. And Swami Sarvapriyananda was asked, why did it do this? Why did it do this? And he said, the answer is very simple, because it can. And there is no other answer. We simply cannot know the intentions, the significance of the intentions of the cosmic mind with our limited human mind. We can only become united with that beyond mind, beyond thought and speech, in a state called samadhi, and we'll get to that. So,
Brother, is it a fair statement that that desire of the Atman to experience is kind of the basis for all of the desires that we have in our little pig lives?
precisely. It is the germ, the seed, out of which all these others evolve. And our belief in them as somehow that they have any reality. Instead of saying, I am doing nothing, I am seeing nothing, I am hearing nothing. It is the senses alone that are doing this. The senses that I created, they're doing this, and I'm witnessing it as the experiencer. There is no knowing why. There is no inherent meaning in it, because there is no inherent answer to the question why. So without a question like that, there can be no inherent meaning. It simply exists so that we may experience it, we as the divine being. Okay?
So reading on, Shloka 22, though the object of experience becomes unreal to him who has reached the state of liberation, it remains real to all other beings. 23, the Atman, the experiencer, is identified with Prakriti, the object of experience, in order that the true nature of both Prakriti and Atman may be known. 24, this identification is caused by ignorance. And 25, when ignorance has been destroyed, this identification ceases. Then bondage is at an end, and the experiencer is independent and free.
This is the aim when the thought waves of the mind have been stilled, which is, if we remember, the very first shloka in the whole book says, the goal of yoga, the goal of this what we're studying, is to still the thought waves of the mind. When that happens, your universe disappears. The universe does not disappear for all other living beings, but your universe disappears. You're no longer a prisoner in bondage to this universe. You are independent, which in Patanjali's terms is the Sanskrit is kaivalya. That's exactly what it means, independent and free, free of all limitation. Now, this is inconceivable to us as we sit here, but this is, we know something in it rings true for us. We know, yes, there is something here. That's why we continue to study this. Anything else from anyone? All right, please read on, dear.
These aphorisms would seem, at first sight, to express a paradoxical idea. When Patanjali says that the experiencer is identified with the object of experience in order that the true nature of both may be known, and then adds that this identification is caused by ignorance, we feel a certain bewilderment. We are bewildered because Patanjali seems to be accepting and even somehow approving of this ignorance. Surely ignorance is undesirable. Surely it would have been much better if we had never become alienated from the Atman, never ceased to be aware of our real nature. It is rather as if a prisoner would say complacently, "This prison exists in order that I may eventually get out of it," disregarding the fact that if he had not committed a crime, he need never have gone to prison at all. And yet this bewilderment that we feel is merely another product of this same ignorance. Rooted in Maya, we cannot hope to understand Maya or to judge the justice or injustice of its bondage by our little relative ethical standards. All we do know for certain is this, that the great saints who found liberation did not look back upon their struggles with bitterness or regret. They did not even regard Maya with horror. Rather, they saw it as a fascinating and amusing play. They rejoiced in their long fight for freedom. Swami Vivekananda, near the end of his life, could write, "I am glad I was born, glad I suffered. I am glad I was born, glad I suffered so. Glad I did make big blunders, glad to enter peace." Faced up by the seeming paradox of the Atman-Prakriti relationship, we are naturally troubled by doubt and confusion. But instead of wasting our time reasoning and philosophizing, we can do better to keep our eyes fixed on those tremendous figures who reached the end of the journey and stand, as it were, beckoning to us to follow them. Their triumph is our reassurance that somehow, in some way which we cannot yet understand, all is for the best. And that concludes that commentary, brother.
Anything at all from anyone about all of this? The ignorance is necessary. Otherwise, there could not be this experience. We would not experience the universe. We have to be ignorant of our true nature, because the moment we become aware, truly aware of our true nature, at that moment we're free. And our universe ceases to exist. We're no longer a slave to experience. So that's what this workbook is slowly and slowly guiding us toward. This frame of mind that allows us to make the efforts necessary to free ourselves. This is all substruct. This is all the foundation that Patanjali is slowly and slowly building, that will awaken in us the conviction that we too can be free, that we wish to be free. And this then leads to something in Sanskrit called mumukshutvam, the yearning. Sri Ramakrishna called it the yearning that cannot be quenched by anything, no matter how life becomes. Our yearning to be free becomes our number one priority. Everything else becomes, as Vivekananda said, a secondary detail. That yearning to manifest the divinity within ourselves and have that be the reality in which we abide rather than slip in and out of as we have some glimpses. So, anything else from anyone? Okay, Jeff, read on as we continue with this foundation building.
We have two slokas together. 26. Ignorance is destroyed by awakening to knowledge of the Atman until no trace of illusion remains. And 27. The experiencer gains this knowledge in 7 stages, advancing toward the highest. I'll repeat those. 26. Ignorance is destroyed by awakening to knowledge of the Atman until no trace of illusion remains. And 27. The experiencer gains this knowledge in 7 stages, advancing toward the highest.
So this is, now we're going to get the 7 stages that we will, if we pursue this, the 7 stages we will go through. So that's what's coming next. This will be illumined in the commentary.
I'm curious about something before I go further. I'm just kind of speed reading ahead. And Patanjali mentions the 7 stages in Shloka 27, but then it doesn't seem like he goes through to identify them, because in just a couple of shlokas, he's starting the 8 limbs of yoga.
Well, the 8 limbs of yoga are the 7 stages. It's just that now they're called, rather than stages, they're called the limbs of yoga. And what he says is the first 6 steps are a matter of self-effort. You must struggle to make those steps, those limbs of yoga, a reality for yourself. And it's very, very challenging indeed. But then what happens when you get to the 7th, he says, then something happens to you. Something happens to you. And so the 7th and 8th limbs, which are samadhi, this seedless samadhi or nirvikalpa samadhi, and liberation or kaivalya, independence, freedom. So, but that last is not something that happens to you because you, as the you that you have known yourself to be, you no longer exist, unless you're one of those people who is given the assignment, so to speak, by universe to return as a teacher. So that's why the 7 stages are something that happens to you. First by 6 by self-effort, and then the 7th by something happens, and then at the 8th there is no longer any you to speak of. So I've kind of short-circuited in a way what the Swami's commentary will be, but nevertheless, let's go ahead.
Well, the Swami will go into great detail.
Yes.
He starts by saying the 7 stages by which perfect knowledge of the Atman is gained are said to be as follows. And then he doesn't number them, he letters them. So they're lettered A through G.
Mm-hmm.
So A, the realization that the source of all spiritual wisdom is inside ourselves, and the kingdom of heaven is within us. As Swami Vivekananda says, after long searches here and there, in temples and in churches, in earths and in heavens, at last you come back, completing the circle from where you started, to your own soul, and find that he, for whom you have been seeking all over the world, for whom you have been weeping and praying in churches and temples, on whom you were looking as the mystery of all mysteries shrouded in the clouds, is nearest of the near, is your own self, the reality of your life, body, and soul. These are stirring words to which our hearts can immediately respond, but a firm realization of their truth is not so easily achieved. It is not enough to accept it as an intellectual proposition. It is not enough to glimpse it in moments of religious emotion or temporary insight. We cannot claim to have reached this stage until we are continuously aware of the presence of the Atman within us. When we are aware of this, we know also, without any doubt, that union with the Atman is possible, since no external obstacles can arise to prevent it. B, the cessation of pain. Pain, as we have seen, is caused by our attachment or aversion to the phenomenon of the external universe. As the mind turns inward toward knowledge of the Atman, these attachments and aversions lose their power. We have already quoted the Gita's phrase, yoga is the breaking of contact with pain. C, samadhi, complete realization of and union with the Atman. The objective universe disappears. The Atman is experienced as total existence, consciousness, and joy. In this experience, all sense of individual separateness and differentiation is lost. In Shankara's getting tongue-tied. In Shankara's crest jewel of discrimination, the disciple who has reached samadhi explains, my mind fell like a hailstone into that vast expanse of Brahman's ocean. Touching one drop of it, I melted away and became one with Brahman. And now, though I return to human consciousness, I abide in the joy of the Atman. Where is this universe? Who took it away? Has it merged into something else? A while ago I beheld it. Now it exists no longer. This is wonderful indeed. Here is the ocean of Brahman, full of endless joy. How can I accept or reject anything? Is there anything apart or distinct from Brahman? Now finally and clearly, I know that I am the Atman, whose nature is eternal joy. I see nothing, I hear nothing, I know nothing that is separate from me. This goes on for quite some time, so I'll pause after each one, and hearing no interruption, I'll just continue. D. When a man comes out of samadhi, he returns to consciousness of the objective universe. But this consciousness differs from the kind which we all experience. To one who has achieved samadhi, the external world is known to be merely an appearance. In Shankara's phrase, it is and is not. The man of illusion no longer identifies, the man of elimination, big difference. The man of elimination no longer identifies the external world with the Atman. He sees that it is only a reflection of the Atman, not indeed utterly unreal, since it is projected by the reality, yet lacking substance and independent existence, like an image in a mirror. In this stage, a man knows that he is no longer bound by any worldly duty or obligation. His acts, as the Gita puts it, fall from him. This does not, of course, mean that a man who has achieved samadhi will thenceforward do nothing at all. On the contrary, most of the great saints have been very active, particularly in teaching others. They are like big steamships, said Sri Ramakrishna, which not only cross the ocean themselves, but carry many passengers to the other shore. I've read that.
And we are the passengers being carried to that other shore. And as long as we don't jump overboard, if we stick with it, we indeed will be carried to the other shore, slowly and slowly. Slowly and slowly.
I've read that quote by Ramakrishna before, and I love it.
Yes, indeed.
And I'll repeat it as we read on. They are like big steamships, said Sri Ramakrishna, which not only cross the ocean themselves, but carry many passengers to the other shore. But the actions of the illumined saint differ from the actions of ordinary men because they are not motivated by any attachment or selfish desire. They are, in the most literal sense of the word, voluntary actions. Action for the rest of us is only partially voluntary. It always contains an element of compulsion due to our past karmas and present involvements in the life of our senses. For this reason, the behavior of a saint is often very hard for us to understand. It seems strange, arbitrary, or capricious, precisely because it is not subject to our familiar compulsions. A great
Yes, it is not understandable by the left mind, because the left mind is driven by those compulsions. When someone begins to behave in such a way as they do, these great saintly beings, the way they do, the left mind simply is not capable of understanding. So is that the end of that shloka, the end of that particular little piece, Jeff?
No, there's a little bit more to that one.
Okay, just read that and then we'll call it quits for today.
Okay. I want to point out first, though, that what the Swami just described here reminds me of experiences of the flow that perhaps most of us here have experienced at one time or another. It can, in my case, it can be while I'm playing music, or it could be just while I'm going about the house, but you can experience a few moments of being in the flow where everything seems to be happening automatically, and it's a rare example for me of I am not the doer. It just seems to be doing without my effort.
Right. This is the basis. This whole, just what you described, is the basis for the philosophy called the Tao. That flow, that automatic flow, and learning to just simply be that, and not be willful. But in any event, finish.
Brother Shankara?
Yes.
I do have a question. I'm sorry to interrupt in the middle of the passage, but it's 1 o'clock and I didn't want you to go way past that with the Q&A. Should I wait or?
No, go right ahead, dear.
Oh, okay. So my question is from the previous one, the first one, A, the first page. Swami says that we cannot claim to have reached this first stage until we are continuously aware of the presence of the Atman within us. When we are aware of this, we know also without any doubt that union with the Atman is possible, since no external obstacles can arise to prevent it. My question is the word are, until we are continuously aware. So right now we're trying to be aware, like making a conscious effort to be aware. So is that like even a pre-A stage?
Well, yes, this is the ignorance that is being dispelled. as we do our spiritual practices, which will be described and taught, as we do our spiritual practices, then we become continuously aware of the presence of the Atman. That doesn't mean we're united with it yet, but we're simply aware that there is this witness awareness, that there is this, that we're, but we don't yet abide there. We simply know about it. We simply have experienced it, and so it's undeniable to us. So it may seem circular, dear, but it isn't in practice. And it requires years of practice for most of us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So you want to finish reading just that little bit, unless there's some other comment or question from anyone?
Let me go ahead and read it because it might bring on some comments. It's a great little passage. A great teacher was once asked to explain one of the most seemingly mysterious actions recorded in the Gospels, Christ's cursing of the barren fig tree. Become a Christ, he replied smilingly, and then you will know why he did that.
And that's exactly it. We become of the same, this is what Christ said. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else shall be added unto you. All wisdom, all righteousness, nothing that is hidden will not be revealed. And that too would be revealed. So become a Christ. Well, we are each called upon, as Swami Swahananda said, to become a Christ. But Christ is not one thing. I am the vine, ye are the branches. Inseparable. All right. Any last comment, question, concern from anyone? All right, we'll leave it there, and we'll start with this ABC again next week, because this is what if we get this firmly in mind, we begin to get the sense of what it is we're being asked to do, not just what we're being asked to intellectually understand, but we're being asked to do. And as Swayam said, the first thing we're being asked to do is work on, and we do this through the very first two steps of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, yoga instructions, the limbs of yoga. The first two limbs are yama and niyama, restraints and observances. And as we practice the observances and the things that follow, we become continuously aware of the presence of the Atman. So we'll start again next week with this ABC routine. Yeah, the Swami made them ABC in order to eliminate any confusion with the numbering of the shlokas. Anything else from anyone? All right. Om Hari Om. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amrutangamaya. Abir Moiti. Notice that this is a prayer. This is a prayer of the heart of the struggling devotee. Om Hari Om. O Lord, O beloved Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from this realm of endless noise and relentless confusion to thine abode of silence, serenity, clarity, and peace. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through with thy everlasting, shining presence. This is a prayer of the very sincere devotee, struggling spiritual aspirant, praying to the divine within, the Atman within. Lead me from this to that. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga Durga Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. May we be always, and know we are always, in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. Any final thought from anyone at all? All right, dears. Until tomorrow morning, if you choose to join us, the subject will be very, you'll see the correlation between what we talked about today and what will be talked about tomorrow morning. The talk is called Letter to John Doe, and it's how to think about these things in order to pacify our unquiet. How to think about these things in order to pacify our unquiet and patiently go ahead toward realization. Letter to John Doe tomorrow morning at 11. Mother Willen and the Creek Don't Rise. Until next time, dears.